Like, what made you put hands on Drake?
I did not put hands on Drake.
Oh.
And I do not want any problems with Drake. Drake is, right now, that's all I got. That's all I have to say. He's putting in his work. I didn't do nothing with Drake.
Well, you talked about how you found out that they're trying to set up Drake in LA at one point. What exactly was that about?
You know, and then Puff, that's what Puff was going down to do it. But Puff can't even hear it. See, I know he couldn't.
Puff can't hear a hit? That's kind of crazy, Fifth.
He still hear things from back then, that time.
Oh, got you now.
Right.
Okay. Got you
He can't buy it already. You play it for him right now, and it's hot. You can't buy it. This is why he's fighting Drake. When you hit Drake, because he used the beat that he didn't actually use.
100.
Right, you see what I'm saying? So if he heard it, and then you hear Drake use it, but it wasn't a hit yet until Drake put the lines on it.
In a stunning turn of events, Katt Williams has rekindled heated discussions about the secret world behind Diddy's private parties. However, this time, the focus is on Drake, one of the greatest names in hip-hop. Katt boldly claimed to have seen evidence of Drake not just attending Diddy's covert events, but also screaming for something behind those velvet ropes during a hot, unscripted piece from an underground podcast interview. Williams spoke it without flinching. He said that Diddy's purported private video collection had footage of Drake that is said to depict prominent musicians at their most vulnerable, using the same raw tone that rocked Hollywood earlier this year. What was Drake pleading for exactly?
Everybody been knew Drake was soft and Diddy was insane. They was at a party once. Diddy said, "Drizzy!" Drake said, "Huh?" Boom! Smack that boy. Diddy puts his hands on him. The crowd went, now how Drake be talking in his songs, the crowd was like, "Do you know who you're messing with, Diddy?" That's the sixth god himself. Everybody waiting in bated breath for Drake's response. Drake goes, "You better not do that again." Drake's boys go, what he meant to say was, and they hop in. A scuffle ensues. During the scuffle, somehow Drake gets his shoulder dislocated and they have to take him to the hospital. Now, you may be wondering why this makes Diddy insane. Well, that's because of how the scuffle ensued in the first place. You see, there was a song called 0 to 100.
Uncertain, although Katt claims it had nothing to do with music deals, these statements are made at a time when Diddy is already dealing with a significant number of legal issues and criticism from the public. Katt's charges present a troubling picture of how loyalty and celebrity control could have clashed behind the scenes. While litigation and closed investigations continue to obscure the true context of these videos, according to Katt's account, the video may be career-ending rather than merely embarrassing. The shock doesn't end there either. Katt made hints that a number of musicians, not only Drake, were captured in dubious circumstances. The most dangerous claim Katt Williams has ever made, however, may be calling out Drake by name, especially with the world watching Diddy's every move. Stay tuned as we explore the full implications of these accusations for Drake, how Katt might have obtained this information, and what industry insiders are now saying about the possible fallout. Katt Williams may have had a brilliant idea. Hip-hop's biggest names are being pulled into the limelight one by one. Furthermore, it has now been revealed that Drake's name is on the notorious Diddy tapes, allegedly audibly present rather than only mentioned. Sources claim that one of the tapes features Drake yelling. The internet was rocked by the accusation. However, the picture begins to take shape when you begin to connect the dots, particularly when you consider occurrences that date back to 2014. Not only is this ongoing Diddy inquiry uncovering long-forgotten details, but it is also piecing together a time frame that makes sense at last. Go back to December 8th, 2014. Everything changed in the early hours during a VMA after-party. There were several reports that Diddy and Drake had a nasty altercation outside the arena. Things quickly became violent, according to many media sites, as Diddy allegedly discovered Drake slipping outside the club and gave him a vicious beating. After that, word got out that Drake needed to be sent to the emergency hospital. Even 50 Cent stepped in, taking jabs at Diddy and stating that something did happen that night, but Diddy later dismissed the entire affair, claiming that he ever touched Drake and acting calm in interviews as if nothing major had occurred.
No pun intended. That beat was supposed to go to Diddy. Diddy heard the beat and said, "Nah, I don't want to use this song." A couple months later, Diddy listens to the song again and goes, "You know what? I kind of like it." He hits Drake up, says, "Drake, can you make this song for me?" Drake goes, "Of course, we're friends." Drake makes a song. Diddy listens to it and goes, "I don't really like it." Drake goes, "Okay." So Drake releases a song, but not in a disrespectful way. He puts it up on SoundCloud as like a free throwaway song. The song blows up out of nowhere. Now, Diddy still didn't say anything about this until the song gets nominated for a Grammy. All of a sudden, Diddy goes, yo, yo, yo.
According to reports, one particular track, 0 to 100, was the catalyst for the altercation. Drake allegedly got to it first, flipped it, and made it a chart-topping song because Diddy thought the beat was his. Diddy evidently didn't like the maneuver, and things reached a boiling point that night in Miami. Years later, that altercation may have involved more than just music, and if the tapes support the rumors, this drama goes much beyond a stolen beat. However, the Miami event was only the beginning, a warning shot, an instance in which Diddy vented publicly while engaging in a far more somber game behind the scenes. According to reports, what appeared to be a crushed conflict on television was still blazing subtly in the streets. According to insiders in Los Angeles, Diddy's assertion that everything with Drake was love was untrue when he sat down with the Breakfast Club in August 2015. Something quite different was being spoken in the streets. Diddy allegedly issued a silent award behind closed doors, unofficial but comprehended. There was a charge for whoever spotted Drake slipping in LA, and that's when the city's residents started acting out. According to several LA sources, reports about Drake's at this club were pouring in nonstop. Drake is departing this location. Drake made a strategic move since it was not only a rumor, but also covert monitoring. Game was well known in Los Angeles for his connections and credibility. He had a lot of influence, especially when it came to street politics. Drake knew that if Diddy had the same reach in LA, he needed someone with the same strength to balance it out. Game played his hand carefully. According to Game, people approached him directly and asked him to align Drake, but instead of betraying him, Game reversed the script and protected him. However, like anything in the business, protection didn't come without a cost. Drake, therefore, did Game a great service. He gave the 100 record to him. In Compton, an area with symbolic significance, the two filmed the video. It wasn't about street cred. Rather, it was about demonstrating solidarity in a place where division might be lethal. Game didn't hold back when ninjas contacted to set you up and wanted me to come wet you up because you were out of town like Biggie, if you pay close attention to the words. I then came through to vest you up after hearing about the ish Diddy on that bar served as documentation, not just for show. An invoice Drake approached cautiously even though he had the Game watching his back. In the course of filming the 100s, according to Whack 100, Drake became trembling and anxious when he encountered new people, uncertain of who was who, and in a panic, Drake left the 100 video filming by jumping into a vehicle. Drake wasn't taking any chances, even when others around him were there for safety. Before they could resume shooting, Whack 100 apparently had to find him, calm him down, and explain the issue. The tension that surrounded Drake's moves at the time is evident at that particular moment.
That's my song. Now, at that party where they got into that scuffle, Diddy tells Drake, hey, can we talk about the song? Drake goes, there's nothing to talk about. I don't want to have a conversation about this. And Drake leaves. Diddy follows him to the whip and says, don't run away when somebody's speaking to you. And that's when it ensues. Now, the sad part about all this is Drake didn't get his career ruined by this happening. Listen closely. Everybody knows Drake is so soft that when people heard that he got smacked, everybody said, well, that's expected. You feel what I'm saying? Like if Donald Trump does something crazy, everybody goes, oh, well, it's expected, so they let him get away with it. That's not what he wants. Like if Drake were to slip on a banana peel and his face falls on a pie, everybody be like, that darn Aubrey, doing it again.
He was more than simply a rapper now. He was acting as though he was aware that any handshake may be a sign of danger. Today, Diddy is being charged with major federal offenses, and the courtroom has become the scene of shocking disclosures. However, it was Cassie's confession on the witness stand that rocked the courtroom and beyond. Prosecutors questioned her about what made Diddy lose his temper and allegedly touch her during her rerouting. Her response astounded everyone in the room. She was traveling to Toronto for Drake's yearly music extravaganza, OO Fest. Cassie claims that Sean tried to assault me when she got to my house, but she still boarded her flight and went to OVO Fest. Everything changed with that transfer. The courtroom was quiet with serious ramifications. If motive wasn't evident before this made it plain, Diddy allegedly thought Drake was going too far, maybe both personally and professionally. In his opinion, that suspicion wasn't unjustified. There was a renewed report in 2013 that Drake may have signed Cassie to his OVO label. It didn't matter if that agreement was ever formalized. In Diddy's opinion, it was treachery. Territory was being contested and feelings began to run high. Even Lil Duval's previous tweet gained attention again. He wrote at the time, "I heard Diddy swung on Drake in Miami for saying hello to Cassie. Back then, it seemed like a joke, but today it seems like a warning sign that everyone overlooked." Additionally, Drake has been teasing the tension throughout, particularly in his song 4 p.m. in Calabasas. "All you self-promoters are janky," among other lyrics. "They accept me less the higher I rise. I'm even pressed by the originals." Then followed the most pointed remark. "I'm making fun of Diddy's famous ad-lib and the sentence. They act as though they had no love in their hearts." One more coded shot, Calabasas, the song's title, was a subliminal insult against Diddy's domain. Drake wasn't fleeing the feud. He was recording it as it happened. The hip-hop world is beginning to re-examine years of hazy boundaries, quiet feuds, and industry protection as everything comes to light in court and old video comes to light. What originally appeared to be artist competition now seems to be a part of something far deeper, where fear, power, and allegiance all clash behind the scenes. Sources claim that as prosecutors continue their investigation, other individuals connected to Diddy's inner circle may soon come to light. Additionally, because Drake's name is allegedly on the tapes, this isn't simply a quarrel. It concerns what the tapes may disclose. The question is, what did Drake witness? What role, if any, did he play? Was he a bystander, a target, or something else entirely? Speaking anonymously, a former industry bodyguard said that Diddy's events were more than simply upscale get-togethers. They were also screen tests. It wasn't just about music, he claimed. It was also about control. This makes the possibility that Drake was captured on camera all the more real because whether he was there voluntarily or not, those images could have changed everything. People were watched, recorded, and occasionally forced into situations from which they couldn't easily escape. According to reports, the recordings currently in the custody of federal officials are being examined frame by frame, name by name, and more than just the fans are paying close attention. Major business entities and brand alliances are silently keeping an eye on this matter. These businesses have spent millions on the carefully manicured photos of their famous partners. If video evidence reveals participation in any environment that is regarded unsuitable or legally dubious, the consequences will go beyond the news. There will be terminated agreements, abandoned sponsors, and a changed legacy. This is a crucial moment for Drake, who has spent more than 10 years creating an empire through strategic maneuvers and cultural domination. There is a huge difference between being named and being seen. One is a hearsay, while the other is proof. There will be further conjecture until those tapes are verified or refuted. The silence from Drake's camp is just making things more tense because if what's on those recordings matches what's being said, hip-hop's most protected image may be treading very carefully. Every phrase, picture, and resurfacing footage is now being re-examined. Drake wasn't only spouting out lyrics, he was narrating a tale. In retrospect, some of those lyrics, such as "that man is not a man for you scared of letting your skeletons loose," are starting to sound more like confessions wrapped in metaphor bars. Fans are starting to think that Cassie may have confided in Drake long before any courtroom testimony or legal documents ever came to light. It appears that Drake may have been hinting at more than just drama, possibly even indicating what was actually happening behind closed doors, but most people missed it until now. This brings us full circle to Katt Williams, the one voice that kept saying what others avoided. Rappers and executives would be exposed, he added. On the tapes, actual voices could be heard screaming in addition to being stated. At the time, it sounded crazy. However, now that all is known, it doesn't seem so unrealistic. The potential that Drake was recorded in any way raises severe concerns, regardless of whether the records show crazy parties, disrupting calls, or anything far more serious. Was he taking part? Did he see it? Was he simply at the wrong place at the wrong time, or what? According to legal experts, the tapes are now sealed, but that might change when the trial is over. Furthermore, this problem will go beyond hip-hop headlines if Drake's voice is indeed included in the tapes, shouting. We're discussing significant cultural influence. Public sentiment is already erupting. A person said, if Diddy's bold enough to go after big names, imagine what he's done to people with no platform. Another person said, Diddy touched Drake and Cassie. He just cares about power and control. He doesn't discriminate. In the growing saga surrounding Diddy's secret tapes and Katt Williams' relentless disclosures, a new, more nuanced narrative is beginning to emerge, one that paints Drake's involvement in a dramatically different light than fans are used to. While Katt's claims have been brushed off before as overly bold or exaggerated, they're now being reconsidered in the wake of mounting legal scrutiny surrounding Diddy and a trail of corroborating events dating back to 2014. Industry whispers suggest that what happened between Diddy and Drake may have been less about music and more about psychological dominance, optics, and the manipulation of industry alliances. Sources close to the situation allege that Drake's now infamous tension at the 100 music video shoot wasn't just nerves, it was rooted in real concern about surveillance and power plays. His decision to align with Game may have been a protective measure more than a musical collaboration. Meanwhile, the revelation from Cassie that a trip to OVO Fest sparked Diddy's alleged aggression only amplifies the underlying narrative that Drake, knowingly or not, became entangled in a web of personal vendettas and industry control tactics. What's even more compelling is the possibility that the tapes don't just capture embarrassing party footage, but evidence of strategic setups. A former security insider hints these events were more akin to auditions, where guests were unknowingly tested, monitored, and sometimes manipulated into silence or loyalty. In that context, Katt's assertion that Drake could be heard yelling on one of the tapes takes on new meaning. Was it a moment of resistance, a protest against something bigger than a bad contract or beef? The question isn't just whether Drake was there, but whether he was a participant, a pawn, or a target in something far more orchestrated. Interestingly, while the public zeroes in on Diddy's court drama, insiders hint that the biggest revelations haven't yet surfaced. One source claims that a separate vault of recordings is in federal review, and that what's been released so far is only the surface layer. If that's true, Drake's position may evolve from speculative victim to pivotal witness. Some even suggest his lyrics over the years, subtle digs, cryptic metaphors, may have been his only safe way to speak. Lines like pressed by the originals and letting your skeletons loose now read less like clever wordplay and more like encrypted confessions. The silence from Drake's camp is telling. Not denial, not clarification, just quiet, which in this climate speaks volumes. Whether Katt Williams is blowing the whistle or merely amplifying smoke from a fire he didn't start, one thing is clear. Hip-hop's protected personas are under a microscope. The culture isn't just revisiting old feuds, it's confronting the realities of influence, power, and silence that have lingered behind the scenes for far too long. Thus, the query is now on the table. Was Katt only stirring things up, or was he revealing something more profound? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. To ensure you never miss an update, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable alerts.